Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a text called God is Able by Andrew B. Mumber. It's written to make a really strong case for faith, especially when you're going through tough times. So let's break down the step-by-step argument it uses to try and turn hardship into trust.
So right off the bat, the author starts with something we can all relate to: hardship. By kicking things off with a universal feeling, the text creates this common ground, this shared starting point, before it even gets to the proposed solution.
And this, right here, is the core idea, the real turning point of the whole text. This quote from Matthew is the foundation for everything else. It's that moment where the focus is deliberately shifted away from our own limitations, what we can't do, and toward the idea of what God can do.
All right, so first up, the impossible problem. The author wants to frame that core feeling that often comes with serious struggles, that sense that your situation is just impossible.
So what's the answer to the so-called impossible problem? Well, it all boils down to one word: trust. But listen, we're not just talking about a vague hope here. The author is very specific, defining it as total reliance or dependence. Think about that for a second. It's a call for complete dependency, and that idea is absolutely crucial for the entire argument that's about to unfold.
And that leads us right into the author's main proposition, that this kind of total, all-in trust is the fundamental solution to those problems that feel so impossible.
Now, you can't just ask someone for that level of trust without backing it up, right? And the author knows this. So the heart of this text is built around what it calls 7 proofs of divine power. Each one is presented like a piece of evidence, building a case for why this kind of trust makes sense.
The case starts with something incredibly fundamental: our health. The author argues that God is the greatest physician, and to prove this point, the text points to specific accounts from the Gospel of Mark. We're talking about stories of miraculous healings that are offered up as concrete evidence of this power.
Okay, from physical health, the author moves on to another really common source of stress: financial security. The second proof claims God has power over financial needs.
And the example used here is a pretty wild one, right? It's that story from Matthew where Peter finds tax money inside a fish's mouth. The whole point is to show that God can provide in ways you would never, ever expect.
The third proof is all about the power of protection from physical danger. To make this point, the author chooses some really high-stakes, dramatic stories of deliverance.
I mean, we're talking Daniel in the lion's den, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. Each example is meant to show survival against what seem like impossible odds.
Now, the argument shifts from the physical world into the spiritual realm. So, proof number 4 is about power over evil spirits.
And the evidence for this comes from examples of exorcisms in the Gospel of Mark, which are used to demonstrate this authority.
Okay, the fifth proof is a big one: control over the natural world itself. It's maybe the most expansive claim yet, and the author selects a few different examples to support it.
Everything from calming the weather and defying the laws of physics by walking on water to having control over the life of a single plant.
All right, next, we're back to another basic human need: food. This sixth proof is the power to provide sustenance.
And it's supported by 2 of the most famous miracles in the Gospels: the feeding of the 5,000 and the feeding of the 4,000.
So, all of this has been building to a climax. And here it is, the final and, according to the text, the most significant proof: power over death itself. The author structures this point to build to a powerful conclusion. First, by citing examples of Jesus raising other people from the dead, and then it all culminates in the ultimate piece of evidence presented in the text: his own resurrection.
After building this entire case for trust, the author pivots from evidence to action. They lay out what's called the path to belief.
So, for anyone who's persuaded by the argument, the author distills this path into 4 clear steps. It starts with hearing and believing, then moves through repentance, confession, and finally baptism.
And the text reinforces this call to action with a final promise. This quote from Matthew is presented as an invitation, promising rest and relief for anyone who chooses to follow this path.
And so, the author's entire argument, from that shared feeling of hardship through all 7 proofs and down the path to belief, it all ultimately funnels down into this one, single, direct question posed to the reader: do you trust God?